today, Angela's going to talk to us about her healing journey and teach us that we have more power over our health than what we've been told. Now, Angela, I mean, you confronted a lot of health issues with your. Now, you guys pay attention, because if you know anybody with any of these things, this is going to help them, and this is a long list. And Angela's joking about it now, but it's serious stuff. So you've had issues with your thyroid, osteoporosis, ovarian cysts, insomnia, eating disorders, mental health issues, a liver tumor, and other challenges that I haven't even talked about that you're going to tell us about. So, I mean, when did you discover that your health was declining?
Well, the biggest realizations occurred probably around 2017, 2018. That is more from the physical perspective. The emotional stuff, I guess. Hey, there's Renee. Oh my God. Hello, my love. The emotional stuff dates back quite some time to, I would say, about 1990, 91. And the insomnia dates back to when I was 4. So it's 60 years of it. So where would you like to start, Amy?
Oh my goodness. Well, we would have to do like episodes to keep up with you. But I mean, insomnia is a big deal.
Right.
And
It's a
there are
huge deal.
yeah, and there are people that have to deal with that, even, throughout their lives. And I mean, they have things that they're talking about, and I'm going to be having some guests coming up talking about what they call sleep hygiene.
Right.
And there are some things that you can do to help deal with the challenge of insomnia, but not everybody can. And sometimes when you have doctors' interventions, it can even make it worse instead of better if they're trying to medicate you or what have you. So, but insomnia is a big deal. And today we're going to be talking about how you healed a lot of the things that you dealt with a whole food plant-based lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't heal everything,
Right.
but it does make things a little better. Some things
Absolutely.
that
I need to be forthcoming with the audience, because the insomnia did affect my memory. It did. So all around me, there's all kinds of cheat sheets and notes, because this has been over 3-decade process. And there's beautiful Zena. It's been over a 3-decade process, and I need some help in trying to remember some more of the specifics as to, like, oh yeah, that's when this happened and when that's happened. Because when you're in it and you're living it and you're going forward with your life and you're taking steps to get better, I don't dwell on the past. I don't dwell on all that stuff that's like, okay, the date is absolute minutia in comparison to what has to be done to forge forward in a healthy manner. I think too, Amy, it comes down to a little bit disconnecting with the former self who bought into some of the crap and bought into some of how the system looks at mental health. And I got swept up in the medicinal aspect of all of that for 25 to 28 years. And then later on in life, I now have to deal with the after effects of all those drugs, of all those psychotropic drugs. What people have to understand is, when I first went on psychotropic drugs, it was
and now tell everybody why you had to go on
okay.
them so that they
Because
understand.
all right, there was a whole cycle of, and it started though with the insomnia. Okay, the sleepless pattern. The sleepless pattern was 1 to 4 hours a night for years upon years upon years. Now I get a 5th hour. I get up to go to the bathroom. That 5th hour, by the
Yeah.
way, is night and day for me. It
Yeah.
puts me into another way of, oh, okay, this is a little more clarity today upon waking. Okay.
Yeah.
So the thing is that I had the emotional binge eating, anorexia, bulimorexia, which is what they called it back then, for like when you abused exercise and to try to, work off all the calories. We know you can't do that, right?
Yeah.
So
You
back
can't
then,
outrun a bad diet.
that's it, kiddo. That's it. You can't, and now I use a lot of exercise for a whole nother different reason. It's all about a calm, stable brain. But so back then it was this disordered way of eating, and I actually put myself into a rehab. I went into an addictions rehab in about 1992. Had gotten married, marriage fall apart, and he too was an addict, but he wasn't ready to take his steps, but I was. And
Mm.
but having learned from Dr. Jen Hawk that um, through recovery you're going to have relapse. There has to be relapse with recovery. And Amy, do you hear a weird sound? Do you
No, I
hear
do
anything?
not.
Because I'm hearing some weird noises on the headset. I just want to make sure you don't hear it.
No, I hate when that happens. It's very
All right.
distracting.
All right, it's okay though. It's all right. So anyhow, so I went to a yoga rehab. I went to a rehab that was set up by Kundalini Yoga Sikhs, and because at that point I was interested in yoga, and wanted a non-medicinal approach to healing and through help with addiction. So I chose a facility out in Arizona, and it was on a farm that was in, I don't remember, Tucson or Phoenix. I don't know, but it was a farm. And part of the program was you were patted down, by the way, when you entered. I mean, it's a rehab. There's no joke. All right. Just because
Mm.
it's yoga based doesn't
Yeah.
mean they're not doing their job, because these were MDs, these were RNs who happened to be in the Kundalini line of yoga
And
Sikhs,
tell
right?
everybody about a little bit about Kundalini.
Sure. So
Just now everybody
Kundalini
knows.
yoga is not hatha yoga. It's not the downward facing dog. It's not the tree pose. These are the poses that people are used to.
Yes.
Kundalini yoga, now as a licensed massage therapist, all these decades later, I realize targets the endocrine system, targets the glands of the body. So you could be sitting in a pose for them in a seated cross-legged with your elbows bent, arms up like this, and you'll be doing, but as fast as you can go,
Wow.
15 solid minutes in an unair conditioned barn
Mm.
on a farm in Arizona. And
That's quite a distraction from your problems.
you don't have time to think about crap. All right. You are absolutely right. That's the point. But it's also like from a physical perspective, you're wringing out, your
Mm. Yes.
glands. And that's what addicts need, is to wring all that crap out and to
Yeah.
detoxify. So
Yeah.
you were required to do 12-step meetings. You were required to do some like private therapy. You were required, check this out, to do massage therapy. You were required to do the yoga classes. This was all my influence over these years.
Yeah.
And you had to do 2 to 3 1-hour Kundalini yoga classes daily.
Wow.
And it was just a trip.
That is
Okay.
intense.
And
Yeah.
the
You
and the
really don't think.
food was vegan, vegetarian, and there were no medications prescribed. It was all like herbal protocols that were designed for each individual person. You want to talk about being ahead of their time. I'm
Yeah.
talking
That's
30
amazing.
years ago.
Yeah.
Now, I'm
So
not
now, were you vegan or vegetarian at that
I
time?
by that at that point, yeah, because I
Okay.
went I do remember. I went vegetarian split second after I got done reading Diet for a New America, John
Oh, by
Robbins.
John
I
Robbins.
would love to
Yeah.
know how many people that guy turned. You know what I mean? And I mean, and it was immediate. I had a beautiful cat, and her name was Honey Bunny, and I remember finishing the book and looking at her and going, how can I eat flesh? How
Oh,
And it was immediate, and I was vegetarian. Then don't ask me when my vegan anniversary is. Sorry, I'm a bad vegan. I don't know, but it
no,
was,
you're not a bad vegan because you're a vegan.
yeah. I mean, you know what I mean. I just don't remember, but it was like 88. It was probably like 90. all right, that I actually went vegan. So I was already on board. And so I went to the rehab. That eating style was fine by me. It was no problem at
Yeah.
all. However, the marriage failed, and I came back. We were still in it, but
Mm.
we went into the process of divorce, and I eventually I relapsed. I relapsed. And when I
Sure.
tell you that I relapsed, the relapse was always back to cheese. Isn't that interesting? Cheese is like a pleasure trap food, right? So it's the salt, the oil, and sugar. And that would haunt me for a while until I discovered something else that there's no turning back, which was Sophos free.
Right.
And
Which we'll talk about a little
yeah,
bit
and a
about
little
that
bit,
later.
yeah, yeah. So um, that process of you know, relapsing, and we got divorced, and I needed another place to live. We were living in Park Slope, Brooklyn, and at that time, in
That's in New York for you guys that
New
don't
York,
know
in
New York.
Brooklyn, and I. I was born in Brooklyn and partially raised there too, because my grandparents owned a brownstone in Park Slope. And when I got divorced, I needed someplace else to live, because in 1990, Amy, I became certified as a personal trainer. And
Isn't that something how things turn? I mean, you probably never would have expected that that would be something that
well,
you would
I'll
have done
tell you
after
what
what you were
happened.
going through.
I don't know about that. The only reason why I say that to you is because I got brought up at a time period when a girl was really super athletic. We were called tomboys.
Yeah.
And I had an older brother, 5 years older, who actually later in his life was a professional baseball player for the Dodgers. So
Mm.
I was his brother. I was his 5 year younger brother, and I had to play it all. But I loved it. I was in all the sports with the boys who were 5 years. I played tackle football with these guys, and I was 7, all
That's so
dressed up in the
wonderful.
uniform.
You had a good brother because
Oh,
he let you play with him.
he, oh, I mean, I had no choice. I had no choice. You're gonna go up on that tire swing, and you're gonna swing from the top of the roof, and you're just gonna do it. Okay,
That's
I just went
wonderful.
along with it. So,
But you were having this insomnia even in your childhood,
oh,
right?
no question. I
Yeah.
mean, my best buddy in the household was my dog Lassie. Back then, 60 years ago, every dog got called
Yeah.
Lassie, regardless of the breed. They got called Lassie, and we lived in a multi-family household. Lassie was technically my aunt and uncle's dog, but I took her. You know what I mean? And yet,
Yeah.
4 years old, that's my baby, my child.
That was your snuggle buddy, huh?
She was, and she was my buddy late at night when
Yeah.
everybody else was
Nobody
asleep.
else was
And I
asleep.
would play with her, and I'd put her in the doll carriage. I'd dress her up. She'd let me do anything to her. And she was so protective. And she was also, and I think this is true, very common of many children, she was my first death.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember it like it was yesterday. I think it was about 5 or 6, and it was in a profound association with an animal that locked in my visceral love of animals.
Right.
And there's no question originally that I went vegetarian from back then,
From that, yeah.
from an ethical
Right.
perspective, until I
And
later found out more.
in your story about things that you went through, I mean, you've gone through more than your fair share of things, and and you still seem to have such a positive outlook on things. But I think that this is just going to be so inspiring for everybody to hear, because so often people, if they're trying to regain their health or they're trying to maybe change their lifestyle, some people who are watching may be interested in adopting whole food plant-based lifestyle, which we'll
Hmm.
talk about a little later. And some people say, well, I had so much trauma in my life that I can't handle these kinds of changes, and I need food to, soothe me, or what, or I can't exercise because, I feel sad all the time and I don't have the energy. I mean, there are things that you're going to be talking about that you overcame, and still you marched on and did what you needed to do. So you had the insomnia. Now, did you have any other health issues at that young age?
No, that is any other health issues? Not
Right.
really. It was
Okay.
really that,
That was it, right. So then when
um,
did the other health issues start?
then the eating disordered stuff started happening around like 30, 31, 32,
That's
right?
so interesting. So you
Isn't it?
survived your teenage years.
Right, exactly, and I think yeah, I mean, exactly. You see, here's the thing. I was a very creative kid, and I started singing lessons at 10 years old, and, all through junior and senior high school, I was in every play, I was in all the chorus performances, we did concert tours in local senior centers, I
Yeah.
was involved
So
in it
that was your
all.
drug of choice.
It was my escape.
Yeah.
It was my
Yeah.
escape,
So then
right?
what happened in your 30s that
At
gave you the
Well, I think part of it is I was actually in theater for quite a number of years professionally, and
Mhm.
while I was doing the professionally working in theater from '84 to '87, I was also very much into fitness. I discovered Jane Fonda, and we traveled the country doing Shakespeare, and we played. Listen, this was not upscale, so we played it. We stayed in motels as we played in colleges, to perform in colleges. And in the motel room, I would play the Jane Fonda cassette tape and work out. And that was where that sort of like that love of fitness started kicking in and reminding me of that feeling of when I was very athletic as a kid,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
that never left me. Even when I was in the eating disordered stuff. And let me tell you, sometimes, Amy, I would look at my exercise equipment and just want to kill it. I'd want to break it because I'd sometimes look at it like the enemy, but I knew it wasn't. I always knew it was the way out of all of this crap that was going on in this sort of discombobulated way of thinking, right? Um, but you see, what had happened then is after that other relapse, I moved into the apartment with my that my grandparents owned. I wound up in that apartment building, so I stayed in Park Slope. I was able to continue being a personal trainer, but I I went to go see a psychiatrist, and this was I'm gonna put it at 92, 93. The reason why I'm saying that to you is because that's the time frame when Patty Duke made famous lithium, and
Mm.
her diagnosis of manic depression. Well, guess what I got diagnosed with?
The
And get
the
manic depression.
diagnosis of the decade.
The diagnosis of the decade. But you see, back then, it wasn't the what I call the flavor of the month that it became now.
Mhm.
Okay. Back then, it was rarely diagnosed, but I got it. I
Mm.
got the diagnose, and I bought into all of that crap around that diagnosis.
Well, I mean, you
So,
would think
but I,
because you had the insomnia, right? So
right.
that
And
might
I
be
had very,
yeah.
having gone through the divorce and being American Italian, being from Brooklyn, being in Aries, I'm a bit of a hothead. I have a temper, and I can fly, and I could be very emotional.
Yeah,
But
but if you
there's
have insomnia and you're only working on 4 or 5 hours of sleep,
right.
that alone will do it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly, right. You got it, exactly. So that's where things start to get like muddied, like what really was going on here, right?
Mm.
So, but I go on this lithium, and this then starts another 25 to I think 28-year cycle of so many different psychotropic drugs, and people have to understand that there weren't like the way that we can plug in something now on Google and
Yeah.
plug in it and go,
Right.
what are the side effects of? I don't know. I'm just told, hey, this helped Patty Duke. The psychiatrist thinks it could help me. Okay, I'll go on it, and I was only on lithium for about 2 years, but I just got cycled and cycled and cycled. And now this said, um, it doesn't mean that I stayed in this place of heightened emotion. Um, there were times like I would like about 1995, I started feeling better. And by 96, guess what happened? I went from a relapse and slowly recovered and just felt better and better, was working out, having my students, was definitely immersed since 91, actually since 90, in a senior sport program at Eastern Athletic Clubs up in Brooklyn Heights. I ran it. We were so far ahead of the game on senior fitness. And I was working with seniors for the next 11 years. I started this at 30 years old. I'm 64 now. And I was working with their doctors, with their physical therapists, if they did acupuncture, whomever was the healthcare practitioner that knew them best, I was working with them. I knew back then, you got to call the surgeon. You got to find out if these movements are contraindicated for this medication. Because back then there wasn't Google. I'm going to look up the med, right? I'm going to have to go to the physician desk reference and read about it. And those words sometimes were like convoluted. So I'm like, I really got to get my answers from the doctor. So I learned early on in my profession not to be afraid to reach out to the medical community for help on this. I have to work with your client and your patient. Your patient, my client, is entrusting themselves with me, but I take my work seriously, meaning I need to know what's contraindicated regarding your medications and movement. I need to know if there are contraindicative movements for your condition. And then I would love a little advice on, what do you suggest I do with your patient? What do you think would be a good thing for them? All right. And those are usually the things that I ask. And to this day, this is how I work with my clientele, which is still the same clientele in theory, meaning with the same conditions, same age groups. I have clients that are with me over 20 years. I have a client, Amy, that was my client in Brooklyn for, we couldn't even calculate. It was definitely over 10 years. I moved here. And then last year, I told her, I've been in contact with her all along. And I contacted her. I said, hey, if you know anybody who's looking for a virtual training, and you know the way that I work, right? And she writes back and she said, yeah, I am. She's my client again. After over 20, we're in our third decade. I mean, it's an amazing thing. She's my client again. So my point is that work back then was the groundwork for what's driven me my whole professional life. And I have to tell you that the connective thread for me, for inspiration, for motivation, are my clients. Because you want to talk about finding the gumption and the fight within to continue on. I got people who are getting body parts removed and they're still working out. All right. And active cancer and sugar issues and cognitive impairment. And the list goes on and on. None of them takes an out. None of them. And if they try to take an out, I call them on it.
Well, you've had many opportunities to take it out,
right?
With all the
and let me
things
tell
that you've
you,
been through, and that's
but
and that's what it's about.
I have, and it was
And
a
you
point in
saw,
my life.
yeah,
I tried pulling that crap for a little while, for
hmm
just a little while, and I was like, I don't like this victim crap. I don't care what you call it, trauma, whatever. That's just crap. You got to take steps. You got to stand up. You got to speak for yourself. And you got to be a self advocate when it comes to health, because there are many ways of looking at an issue. So I'm definitely down and with respecting the medical community for their help and their guidance as it pertains to scans, testing, etc. I don't follow the path anymore for myself regarding medicine, because I trusted that path, and that path kicked me in the head.
Yeah. Now, of course, I mean,
2017, 2018.
right. And you're not giving out medical advice, and nor are you telling people to do what you did. You're just telling the story about your experience, and maybe at least to spark some interest in people, that if things aren't going well in the way that they're addressing it traditionally, that they might think about other modalities to incorporate into their healing journey. So
Right.
you had the insomnia, you had the eating disorder and the addiction, and then you were on the lithium for 2 years.
And
And
many other psychotropic meds after that,
mm,
right? For
ah,
25, 28 years. And, you know, today's day and age, I can't even tell you what those medications are anymore because
mm,
they're churning them out a dime a dozen now.
yes,
All right. And the issue for me now at this stage in my life is the FDA approves of psychotropic drugs just too quickly. There's
yeah,
not enough testing on them. I am your 30-year test. I am
mm,
your study on lithium. I am
mm,
your study. Okay. And I mean, I think I should just get into what all that stuff is and to bring people up to date. And I can tie in other stuff from the past too. But I think it's important because my work now, particularly like the work that I'm doing with Chef AJ's platform with Feel Fabulous Over 40, in particular, the women have so many issues that I understand. And it's almost as if it's like it's all encompassing. And is there any way out at all? You know, and
yeah,
there
sure,
is, all right. You know, so what happened with me, Amy, was you remember our favorite hurricane in the world down here, Hurricane Irma. We love
mm,
her. You know, she was such the B word, man. And at the time, I had was just about to graduate from massage therapy school. Just to give you an up to date, I went to school at 55. I went to massage therapy
see,
and
it's never too late to make a change in your
yeah,
life,
no,
right?
actually wait a minute. That's a fib. Part of me. At 55, I hit ageism. I lost so much of my work. And it was also because it was on the heels, I believe, I had another relapse because my very best friend in the world, and I had a household of many cats, and I lost the three of them in 1 year and moved right
Mm,
into my best friend down here. Now, by then, I've been living here since 2001, and my best friend down here got diagnosed with a very rare form of melanoma, mucosal
mm,
melanoma, which it means it's in every orifice of the body that has mucous membranes.
yeah,
And she was my sister, and so she got diagnosed in 2010. I completely let myself go. I was raw vegan again for another 5 years living here. I let myself go so completely and just focused on her. And I stayed with her a lot in hospice during her whole process. And I gained, well, then it was like 30 pounds. Now, after my whole process and of being SOFIS free with Chef AJ and stuff, it was actually 42 pounds heavier. I was 162 pounds.
how
And
tall are you?
well, Amy, I was 5'7 3/4" until a car accident. And
Oh,
yeah,
I thought you were gonna do a getting older joke, because usually people do a getting older joke.
no,
I was this tall and then I,
no,
lost an inch.
no,
So, oh,
it
I didn't
was,
know you had to go.
yeah, I got T-boned by an F-dot truck.
Ah,
He ran and I was a small Hyundai car. I was small, and he ran a stop sign, and I just went boom. And I'm now 5'6" and like something, you
okay,
know.
yeah. Yeah.
Anyhow, yeah. So anyhow, but during her process, I let myself go, and I had told her if I want to become a licensed massage therapist, then I would like to specialize in what was then called oncology massage. They're not allowed to call it now that anymore
Mm,
legally, whatever, for whatever reason. But she said to me, "You do that, and I'll pay for it." So what happened was she passed, and at 57, I went back to school and I went to I'm going to say because I'm so proud of it. I went to Educating Hands, which was considered the number one private massage school in all of Florida. I was lucky because it was in Miami, and
mm,
I it was a 640-hour program, and I chose the school because I knew it was a hard program, and they required a 20-page paper that needed to be defended. All right. And I
Like
was, and
getting the masters.
it was the only school that required a 20-page paper to graduate. And I said, I'm doing that. But because I knew about the memory stuff, right? And still
Yeah.
all with the, I mean, let me tell you, pulling all-nighters for me was no
Yeah, that
problem.
wasn't a problem.
That was no I mean, you had to see what the car looked like. The car for the board exam, when I finally went for the state board, the car was a bomb of flashcards, because I just was just studying every bit I could, you know.
Yeah.
And but I had an incredible massage mentor, and I'm not kidding you. We did as many hours privately together. She was unbelievable with me, and she understood my psycho crazy crying and jags and my lack of sleep and all that. But you see what happened, Amy, during school, and it was about 2016. One of the students said to me, because and I'm not going to hide anything, okay? I started hearing voices, and I thought I was schizophrenic,
Oh, yeah. You
okay?
of course.
And I thought, wow, what does this come down to now? And I would have to, upon occasion, leave school at like I gotta make up that hour, you know,
Yeah.
because I'm hearing, and my
Yeah.
massage mentor knew it. Okay, she knew it, and it turned out that one of my colleagues at school said to me, "Do you ever think it's your medications?" And I just was like, "Huh,
You've been taking it for how many decades,
r-
I
right,
don't even
right."
think you think about your medications at that point. It's just a part of your everyday life.
And I just thought, wow, that's when I did start to hit Dr. Google, and I started looking stuff up, going, okay, so this is where the disclaimer comes in. Don't do what I did. All right. I weaned myself off of all this crap.
Oh,
And
wow.
and
Yeah,
I was
that's supposed to be done with a guidance of a professional
and let me tell you, I was
dietitian, not
seeing
by
a
yourself.
professional. I
Yeah.
was seeing a professional. I was seeing a shrink.
Uh-huh.
Okay. How you doing with your medications? You taking your medications? Yep. I lied through my teeth.
Ay,
All right. That's true.
yeah.
I'm forthcoming. I lied. And I took 2.5 years. I did it slowly. And it just so happens that worked for me, because the medication never helped me with the sleep, and it just made other issues worse for me.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. Again, I'm not ever going to tell anybody, not a
Yeah.
client, not a friend, not an anybody, to try that, because I had withdrawals, absolute withdrawal. So don't do it. But what was the saving grace for me, Amy, was the exercise, was the sweat, was the putting that energy into another way that actually helps to heal the body, you know? So anyhow, when Hurricane Irma hit, and we were just about at the end of school, um, we were told South Beach was going to be the eye. So that's it. I was told I'm not going to have an apartment to come home to. Everything's going to be down, shelvings. It's all going to be gone. That's a heck of a way, right? To have to evacuate, thinking you're going to say goodbye. I own it's a little apartment, but it's mine, and I love
Yeah.
her, you know.
Yeah.
And at that time, I had two cats, and we evacuated. I had a Posh and Boy, and we evacuated to a hotel. And the night before we evacuated, I collapsed in pain. I just dropped to the floor in writhing, I mean writhing pain, like somebody took a hot iron and just rammed it into the lower left portion of my abdomen. And I had to get my act together. I still had to pack. I had to evacuate. And while I was in the hotel, I was collapsing. It was happening. I was there like a week. It was just awful. And I stayed like that, Amy, like an idiot for a couple of months, because I was like, I got to graduate. I got to
Oh,
take my board. Then I'll do this other stuff and tend to it. That's basically what I did. All right. So I
mm,
got the license, and then I tended to what was going on. And I went to basically a clinic, and I did some blood work, and I saw a PCP at the time, a primary care physician, but he didn't want to give me any scans. He's like, no, I'm not giving you any of this. Meanwhile, a client of mine was a cancer surgeon, and she just gave me an off the cuff exam in her apartment. And she said to me, you need this, 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 and this. And he didn't want to give them to me. And I said to him, if you don't give me these, I'm taking this elsewhere, because I knew he was blowing me off. Because at that point, I had lost some weight. I lost significant weight. I probably lost like 20 pounds by then. Okay.
Mhm.
And I had, that was about when I discovered Chef AJ 2018. Sofas free means salt, oil, flour, alcohol, sugar free. So
On top
I
of
was
being whole food plant based, where
on top of being
yeah.
whole
Mhm.
food plant
So you
exclusive.
lost weight, which would
Right.
you would think, okay, since you
Right.
adopted
And
that
I was
way of eating,
back to working out. I looked
yeah,
fit. So he's looking at me like, I'm not giving you any. And I told him, I'm going to take it elsewhere if you don't give me these scans. Because I never demanded anything like that before from a doctor.
yeah.
And he said to me, sounds like a threat. I said, you're going to take it as a threat. I told him. And then he looked at there was a young resident from a hospital he worked in. And he looked at her and he said to give her what she wants. So we piled on the scans for, the throat, and for down the abdomen, and the vaginally. I mean, everything you can think of, right? And within a 3-month period, I get the following results. But I do want to tell you that I decided, after I got my blood work done at a hospital, I decided I was going to go a little bit beyond that, because a dear friend of mine by the name of Paul Nissan is a raw foodie, a raw vegan, and I know him from Brooklyn, and a very healthy guy. And he was friends with Chris Wark.
And
And
Chris Walk, I've had him on the show. He
there you go.
has a book called Chris Beat Cancer. So he adopted a plant-based lifestyle and he was able to overcome a lot. And I'll put a link to that interview with him. Go ahead.
Great, great. And also I joined his where is it? His Square One program,
Mhm.
because I didn't know at the time if I had cancer or not. And I
Oh,
just thought, well, if I do, I'm just joining this, and I'm going to get the ball rolling on what I have to do. Okay. So what I did is I went to a biochemist that was located in Hollywood, Florida. And that is not too far from me. It's not too far from a lot of places in Florida, right? And I went to go see the biochemist by the name of Dr. Emil Chandel. And it was with the American Metabolic Laboratories. They had a um, I think they had something like a life profile, for blood work, and then they had a cancer profile.
mm.
I did both. I did
Yeah,
both.
right. You
I
may as
just
well.
thought, right, and it's out of pocket, whatever, but it comes back. Its blood work comes back, and he sat with me and said, "Okay." So I was every vegan's nightmare on blood work. So here we go: low B12,
No, oh, go. Wow.
high homocysteine.
Ah,
Okay. And they often go together, which means, because homocysteine is an enzyme of the heart. So if you have high homocysteine, what can happen is, in my case, Dr. Chandel looked at me and said, well, you work out a lot. You're not a candidate for cardiovascular disease, but you are a heart attack waiting to happen. And I'm like, okay, doc. And I thought, okay, but now that, from what I understand about it, now I know that to be kind of true. Okay. And so it's just that was the way he put it. That's okay. Don't coddle me. Just be direct. He looked at blood and urine analysis, and he said, you have the osteoporosis of a 90-year-old. So, okay, all right. I right away in my head, I'm calculating. I'm going, okay, you got to get. Even though I've gone back into working out, I've gone back into weightlifting, and right
which
away I went.
which
Mhm.
weightlifting is very, if you have good muscles, then you probably won't have osteoporosis.
Well,
It could still
right,
happen.
because you can
So
look
that's
fit,
why you were talking
right?
about the weightlifting, because you knew that building strong bone is correlated with its muscles.
Right, because I had been weightlifting before for many years. I
Hmm.
just let it go and I was focusing more on the cardio to lose weight, right?
Mm.
So as soon as he said it, I went, weights. I just immediately said, okay, I know what I got to do, doc. It's okay. I know what I have to do. And then, because he's like, you're all right with all this. I'm telling you. I'm like, yeah, just tell me because I know what I'll have to do then. And, or
You
I know
take orders very well. Just give me the marching orders, and I'm
there
gonna
it
do it.
is. There
Yeah.
it is. And then I'm like, okay, because then I know who I have to go talk to, who
Hmm.
else I have to get advice from, you know. And
Hmm.
so, and then he tells me, um, you have at that point, I knew I had already had thyroid nodules. And he looked at my numbers and he said, I know they're telling you they're small, those thyroid nodules. He said, but I'm telling you now, in about 7 years, that's your thyroid cancer. Because I came back with high cancer markers
Ah.
and I showed thyroid and I believe it was ovarian. There was one other that even the doctors like in the medical community were like, there's another high cancer marker, but we can't figure it out. Okay, whatever. So he told me about those high cancer markers. He told me I had low D3. Amy, I had low protein.
Yeah, which
Low
that's not supposed to
protein.
happen.
Right, low protein, but you must understand that Linda's whole process, I ate vegan, vegetarian junk. D
Mhm.
junk,
And that's why you're
void.
calling it vegan vegetarian and you're not calling it whole food plant-based
That's
because
exactly it.
those are
That's right.
different.
Those are totally different, and it was like nothing healthy came down the chute. So no wonder why I had low protein because
Yes.
there was no nutrition going into me,
Right. You're just eating
and
a lot of vegan processed foods and
just
not
junk.
anything. Yeah.
In a package, open it
Mhm.
up, throw it away, that was
Yeah.
it. And, I also had, low protein, low calcium. So I had every single thing that a vegan has historically, like, that's what you get because, you're going vegan. No, that's what you get for eating crap and not taking care of yourself, all right? I'm not hiding by excuses for anybody else. However, when I found out the results then of the scans, that was another story. So I told you about the two thyroid nodules. Then there was also an enlarged lymph node in the throat, then in the neck, and then start moving down the body. There was a hemangioma, which is a tumor. It was first presented to me as you have a tumor in your liver, but I later found out it's a hemangioma. So when I looked up hemangioma and then I started talking about it with the doctors, and I said, "Listen, this could have been congenital," and they said, "Right, because my blood work."
Meaning that it was you
I was
inherited this
born.
with
No,
your, yeah.
no, not inherited. Born.
Born with,
Congenital means
right.
that you're born with it. All
Right.
right. So that means that it's my blood vessels in the liver are like this. They're in a ball, but the function is fine. They My liver enzymes, my liver blood
Right.
work,
You've been working with this
excellent.
for your whole life. So
Is excellent, right? So it's not like but it's like you're gonna watch that now. Make sure okay, fine, I understand. But I also came back with I'm gonna show like a portion size of my fist size of ovarian cyst on the right ovary
hmm.
was that on the
Now, were
left.
you at that time, were you salt free?
Yeah, but you have to understand that these aren't this was I was diagnosed in let me see here for 1 second. I am. Yes, folks, I'm checking my cheat sheet because I got yeah, all right. So I got diagnosed around 2000 fully 2018 into 19, okay? So I had just gone SOFIS free in 2018. So you must understand that
Yeah.
this crap has been growing in me for a
Yes.
long freaking time.
Right.
Now,
So it could have even been bigger before you changed into the whole food plant-based focus free.
I don't know.
And
I
then
don't
when
know.
they discovered it may have been in the shrinking mode and
It's
oh, yeah,
possible. I
yeah.
don't know how it had room because I'm not done with what they found inside there,
Oh,
right? So on the left ovary, is two more cysts stacked, and they create the size. I love how they presented it to me in my lingo. Well, this one is the size of a small orange on the right, and the two on the left are the size of a grapefruit. I guess, it was my brain, at least I can understand then
Yeah.
the size of the stuff. So there's two on the left ovary, the size of a grapefruit. I found out that the sigmoid colon, which is right near there, is tortuous. So therefore, when the cysts would spasm, and they rotate when they spasm. They're kind of playing knock hockey with the sigmoid colon. So when it's a little TMI, when I have to go defecate, when the spasm would happen, it was screaming pain, just screaming pain. Okay. And then the other thing they found in there was an interesting cavity going on over here, right?
Yeah.
They found very thickened uterine lining. Like, there's several aspects to a diagnosis for uterine cancer. Dr. Elizabeth Fontaine, who I fell in love with her by way of your broadcasts.
Yeah, we've
Okay.
had her on a few times
And
on the
she wrote me
broadcast.
one time in a plant-based telehealth thing. She goes, it's not the only indication of uterine cancer. And she was clarifying things for me, which really helped me. So, but it's one of the things that is looked at is the thickness of the uterine
Yeah.
lining. Mine was thick on top of these other massive size, big cysts in here. And it's like, I'm 120 pounds. Where's
where
this
is
stuff
all this
going?
stuff? Yeah.
And so anyhow, what I did, and I think it's important to share what I did as far as how do you handle all of this one time. And by the way, the left breast had very, very dense tissue since I was 16. Now, what was the diet back then? It was Italian. It was the SAD diet, the standard American diet, but it was the standard Italian diet. It was more cheese than you can know what to do with all that cheese, right? And all the dairy. So, and I got my period at 10. Back then.
That was unusual for early menses back then. Now girls are getting it even earlier than that.
6,
but that
4,
was
right. It's crazy what's going on today. But back then I was 10 and I was fully grown at that age. I mean, I was taller than my teachers. So
you had the dense tissue, breast
since
tissue
16.
Yeah.
Well, so one of the modalities I chose was castor oil pack treatments. And, and I would
this is on the skin, right? These are not
nothing
internal.
internal. No,
topical.
This is topical. Okay. And to understand, Amy, because I still have 7 masses in my body. All right. I have to eat pristine. There is not a thing in here that is not whole food plant exclusive. That is not the full plant. That is not the real
briefly
deal.
tell everybody who's watching, in case they don't know what whole food plant-based is. Let's just go ahead and tell them what it is.
So it is actually eating plants in their plant form. I don't eat anything processed. I don't eat anything that
in a bag or a box or a crinkly package.
Forthcoming. I'll have a boxed pre-cooked beans.
Yeah.
Unsalted, no salt.
Right.
Plain.
But you only have just a couple of ingredients on the ingredients list if it does come in a package.
If it comes in a bottle, let's say it's like a marinara sauce. So yeah, I need a little Italian. Okay. All it is
tomato,
organic tomatoes, and maybe it's some tomato like paste or something, but all organic, unless it's EWG approved, the Environmental Working Group, right? On their Clean 15 Dirty Dozen. So the same thing applies to the alternative modalities that I choose. And I consider that all part of the lifestyle, because even down to my essential oils, right? These are from plants, these are organic. I pick specific brand that I work with and deal
Right.
with, and I'm so choosy about all of it. And so I do castor oil packs on, and I lie down. I have a full body. I'll call it a healing pad. It's a heating pad, but there's no EMF, and the heating component are jade discs, not coils, not electric coils. And I lie down in a full body heating pad, and on the front side of me, I have a full torso size heating pad that covers the liver. I have a castor oil pack on the liver, on the ovaries. I have a castor oil pack on the outer left quadrant of the breast. And then there's castor oil pack on the thyroid, and a smaller heating pad, all from one company, all no EMF, all either jade disc or crushed tourmaline. I have an infrared sauna by that same company, and it's crushed tourmaline.
Yeah, there's
And
a lot of research now showing the
woo,
benefits of infrared saunas, not just for the things that you're treating, but just for good health in general, for
that's right.
detoxing
And to understand that living here in Miami and Miami Beach and getting my produce, it's all in plastic, and that's all endocrine disruptors.
right.
And I
And
gotta,
especially organic. If it's organic, it seems like they have to wrap it in plastic, which is
I know,
very
I know.
frustrating.
Exactly, exactly. And the thing is that my masses are all, almost all, endocrine related.
Mhm.
So I that's my food. That's where I get my food, okay? And therefore that's why I do infrared sauna probably 6 out of 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And
So by
so
by adopting this lifestyle, you haven't like healed and gotten rid of everything that has
no, but
caused.
I my
Right.
body, I'll tell you, but I will tell you this, okay? Several things have occurred. I'm no longer osteoporotic. I have age appropriate osteopenia. That's
Well,
a vast
yeah.
difference
And let's
because
stop here for a second. Hold up your purple cast because you recently fell,
right.
right? Now, if you had had this osteoporosis and the bone density of a 90-year-old, I mean, what would that fall have been like?
I think probably the bone would have been completely shattered. All right? Because my concern is from the fall is okay, I shattered, not shattered, I fractured the scaphoid bone, which is a carpal bone of the wrist. Now, this is a typical osteoporotic site to fracture. However, we've done scans of this since the accident, and it's still showing osteopenia. So it wasn't
Mhm.
that it fractured because of osteoporosis. The doctor said I had 3 hand surgeons, okay, who all looked at the X-rays and the CT scan and all that stuff. And the person that I'm dealing with now, the doctor, the specialist I'm dealing with now, he said that kind of fall, anybody would have gotten slammed. It would have
Right.
happened because this
But also the
fall,
rest of your body, I mean, typically, if you would have had the bone density of a 90-year-old and had a fall, you probably would have had other areas of your body that the
let
bones
me
would have,
tell you,
right?
absolutely, because I don't listen. I passed out. All right, I don't remember hitting the ground, but when I woke up, my face was turned this way, and I'm going, I've steam is starting to come out of my nostrils because I'm knowing that while I'm lying down there going, there's something wrong with the left hand. And I just came from doing a 2-hour yoga practice of inversions, everything. And I'm going, there's something wrong with it. I know it. And I turn my head, and I'm going to show you with this hand. I got a big hand, right? And I got like a classic yoga hand with a spread. So you see how like wide I can make the spread
Yeah.
here? Well, this thumb, this was like way over here, man. And I knew that's just not normal. That can't be good
No,
because
it can't be
what it
good.
was
Then
is
you
the,
start doing a body check. You're like, okay.
oh yeah, I and I'm getting up going, what else? Because I'm telling you, I was like almost face down. It was a little to
Yeah.
the side, and I turned. I'm like, holy crap! There was a big tree like right near me. I missed it like by just a couple of inches. But the thing is that the pavement in this one section was about at least an inch higher, and
Ah,
that's where my
that's
thumb
where you
caught
got it.
on the down edge, my palm right in there.
Yeah.
And so,
But the rest
anyhow,
of your body, as far as your bones,
I mean, this hand was a little something. I've
yeah, but
worked through it
you
myself.
didn't have fractures or, I mean,
Not at
awful things that
all.
happened that
Nothing.
would
I
have
mean,
happened to you had you not started to heal.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and look, weightlifting is part of this protocol. Jumping on the rebounder is a must because
Yeah,
what my
tell us about
body
the
did, yeah.
rebounder. We'll put
All
a
right,
link
it's
for that.
very important to that. This is very, I think, very important. So the thing is that with the cardio, I'm on the rebounder for Amy. Did you freeze? I think I lost you. Can you hear me, love? Oh, there
Yes,
you go.
yeah, we
Okay.
kinda lost some power or something. I don't know what happened, but go ahead, tell us
You
about
okay?
the rebound. Yeah.
Okay. So when I use a rebounder, I'm on there for 37 minutes, and but you kind of remember that I've been using the rebounder for a lot of decades, on and off. I've been working with a rebounder since absolutely 1990, and so at this point, knowing that I'm not osteoporotic, that I will have either, well, I used to have wrist weights, 1 pound on each hand, or 1 pound in each hand. Now, I have figured out that I can put a wrist weight here and wrap one around here when I'm on the rebounder. I wrap it around my upper arm. Or I will wear a 2 pound weighted vest. No more than that for me. I've experimented with heavier weight, not good for my back. All right.
Yeah,
So I keep
exactly,
it
'cause
low. I am
you have to
not
be smart.
advising, yep, I'm not advising anybody wear weighted
Zena likes
vest
the
on a
rebounder.
rebounder. Zena, I know she does. Mwah. I know, up and down. And okay, but remember now about the rebounder. The rebounder is different from a trampoline. And when people say mini trampoline, it's wrong. It's wrong because the springs are on a trampoline. You want to go super high on a trampoline. On a rebounder, you want to push down. It's not about how high you go down, go up. It's about how hard down you go. All right. And so what rebounding does, what dry brushing does, because I dry brush every day, what the infrared sauna does is they help the lymphatic system. Now, these castor oil packs are all about allowing that lymphatic system to be strong enough should any of this burst, the cysts. I know that the type of cysts I've had are not poisonous. I want my lymphatics to do their job,
Just
which is
clean everything out. Yeah.
suck it up and then kick it out of the body. So when I did in 2019, by way of Chef AJ, I found my doc, the best doc in the world, Dr. Frank Sabatino. And he is my doc. He is my go-to for everything. And
He's awesome.
he's
I'm a big
unbelievable. I
fan, yeah.
can't believe he's my doctor. Okay. I can't believe that when I get, blood work and stuff, I send him out a text. I got to go over it with you first. And he knows that. Before I talk to any medical doctor, I'm talking to him
Right.
first.
So
Then,
you did these modalities as far as the
but
infrared
there's
and the
another one.
rebounder?
There's another one.
So
There's
go
another
ahead.
one that's important with Dr. Sabatino. So I went and I did a water fast with him. And I did it in late October, early November of 2019. And it was a 10-day water fast, 2 days of juicing, 10 days water, 4.5 days of refeeding. I did hey, Apple! I love Apple. You're cracking me up when you do this.
Apple is saying, "Hurrah, it's Angela."
I
Sorry.
love Apple. I love Appleseed. I love these people. So anyhow, when I went to go do the water fast with Dr. Sabatino, I scheduled another transvaginal ultrasound 1 week to the day of coming home. I had it, saw the results. Amy, the uterine lining went down by 33% from that water fast. I can say that with
Yeah.
absolute All
Now,
right. I can
a
say,
water fast, and that's something else. I mean, we don't want to give out medical advice.
yeah, you're
Some
not
people do some fasting, but if you're going to do fasting, especially if it's more than 2 or 3 days, you really need to have it supervised by a professional who knows about water fasting,
right.
like Dr. Sabatino or
Let me
Trenor.
tell you
Yeah.
something. I went into a major hypoglycemic like seizure the second day. And Dr. Sabatino was like, I don't know if you're going to be able to carry on. I'm not sure we're going to be able to do this, and inside me, I'm like cursing to myself.
Yeah. Right.
I got through it. All right.
Yeah.
But that's what we found. The other thing that we found was, because it was not quite sure what was going on, because cysts can hide in a scan, by the way. They can hide. And you'll think they're gone. They'll tell you, oh, it's gone. And then the next time they say, well, we weren't right. It was behind some fecal matter. It's back. So I
Yeah.
had some of that going on. It was after that fast, though, they came back and they said, that right cyst is out of here. It's really gone.
Mm.
So this thing, sayonara. The uterine lining, gone. My OBGYN, she did a manual of my left breast and goes, yeah, you're not dense anymore. I was over 60 to change something from when I was 16.
Right.
All
And
right.
see, so it's not too late if
It's
you think.
never too late, not ever, for anything. It's just that because how society looks upon aging, blaming aging for everything.
Yeah.
You have to understand that with me, what we found out with my endocrinologist was, she said, you were on what medication back then? And I said, it was lithium. She goes, we now know that that causes thyroid nodules
Eeh.
and possibly that enlarged lymph node. I went, okay, that's 3. So is it possible that these psychotropic drugs also contributed to these other endocrine related masses? And she went
Right.
like this to me.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
shrugged. She
Now, I mean,
doesn't
there is
know.
a place for these drugs for some people, so nobody's telling anybody not to go on them because
Right.
sometimes they're the best that you can do, and sometimes the benefits outweigh the risks.
It's just my experience. Like I said, I'm the 30-year study. So there is and that's why I'm so glad that I am now at least 5, 6 years off all those drugs.
Mhm.
Um, my
Right,
sleep,
but you did adopt the plant-based diet as well.
this is absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I returned to it in 2017, and I absolutely, when I got introduced to Chef AJ's work, in 2018, I was like, well, this is right up my alley, because my trigger foods would be anything with flour anyhow. And so I knew to not go to that. And I knew about all the other stuff, just avoid it, for myself. And just hearing her and all the great speakers and guests. Amy, I saw you several times on her show before meeting you with your show and stuff. I mean, everybody was and is an incredible inspiration and motivation to me for myself. But also, what I did is I wanted to see what I can learn from her and everybody she brings on, from my clients. And my clients may not be whole food plant based, but I got to tell you, they eat a lot more plants because of me.
And Charles says, "Wow, this guest is a real firecracker. I like it. Inspire me to take no names."
It's just, take no prisoners, okay? Because if I would have gone the Nancy Lowe, if
Yeah,
I
she
would
had to
have,
go.
she's sweet. She
Yeah.
came for a few minutes. She's so sweet to have done that. She had a big thing that she had to do today. So if I would have gone the real traditional medical route, what I got presented with was a OBGYN. He said to me, I love when a doctor calls it, we need you to have a hysterectomy so you're not in pain anymore. And I just was like, wow, that's a big leap. How about an oophorectomy? I mean, an oophorectomy just to remove the cyst, even that consideration. So he was no longer my doctor, let me put it that way. And I got another one who is a female who gets it. She gets it. And she completely supported me and said, science supports you. Your cysts don't need to have an operation. I'm like, okay, I love her. Okay, great. And then also what we found in all that time period of like 2018, 19 in living this lifestyle is I am no longer subclinical hypothyroid. And I telling you right now, I made my doctor write it down on my chart. I said, I want to see you write down on
Yeah.
paper that I'm no longer, I have this. No problem. She writes it down and that it's no longer, in fact, my endocrinologist discharged me. She
Oh,
said, I know you have the thyroid nodules. She goes, I'll see you in a couple of years if you want to scan. She goes, your PCP can treat you. I'm here for you if you need me, but really, you don't need to come to me anymore. And I'm like, listen, doc, you just kicked me to the curb and that's okay by me. You know what I mean? It was like one less thing to contend with.
oh, yeah.
So there is a lot to be said. Yeah, I don't know. Amy, it's been almost 2 years now since the last scan. Okay, because of the pandemic and stuff. And it did affect me financially. And so I have to hold off on the scans. But I can tell you this, that I have been absolutely pain free since August of 2020. I haven't had one spasm. I mean, my clients had to deal with me back then, calling them that it would just hit. And if I got a spasm, it would be like a 2-week thing that was awful in bed, just awful. I don't have that anymore. I just don't. So I even
Oh, well,
question if there's
Renee
anything
wanted
there.
to know that she said my DEXA scan showed I have very little
Renee.
osteoporosis. Yeah, and she wanted to know if maybe you had,
No, no,
yeah, any.
Renee, my love, I did this. First of all, congratulations on what you're sharing here about you. All right, that's phenomenal. I have never taken any medication for this stuff ever. Um, the endocrinologist talked to me about the possibility of thyroid medication. She even brought up the possibility of a thyroidectomy. And that was also, I was like, I gotta, but she was willing to be patient to see what happened. And then like, she's the one who wound up discharging me. So, no, I don't take anything.
You don't
I,
take any bone medication
no,
and
I do supplementation and my food. And my supplementation is based on my issues. I don't just randomly take stuff. All right. And I only take pristine, third party checked USP that Dr. Greger would say, yeah, very good. And Dr. Frank Sabatino, who is not into supplementation. All right. But looked at my stuff and went, it's okay. It's pretty good. I'm like, yeah, I know. Okay. So I'm very, very picky about what I'm using, what I put in a smoothie, all of it.
yeah,
And then
okay.
animals have always been a part of this life program, this life story with me. Cats have always been with me. And my journey with whole food plant exclusive started with animal, being ethical, then went into health. And now the longer I'm in it, the closer and better understanding I have of the climate and the environment and what's happening to this planet. And
Exactly, and that
so,
seems to be what happens. People come into this lifestyle either maybe for the animals, maybe for the environment, or a lot of times for their health.
yeah. And
And
the other thing I want to share with you is because I got so affected business wise by the pandemic, I really did get wiped out. I literally have no retirement funds left. Okay. I'm in the 3 professions that nobody wanted to be near. And with personal training, with yoga, and with massage therapy. All right.
yeah, why don't you
And
tell us about what you do? This is a good time to talk about that.
okay, but yeah, because I want to share something with that, because my point being is there's still hope with that. Okay, it's not like to be Debbie Downer. So as far as my work goes, um, so I have been working with older adults. I'm going to say that. I know it's not politically correct, but I'm one now. I am 64, and I'm going to call it that. I've been working with older adults since I'm 30, and I started with personal training. It's still there with the training. I do it virtually, and I do a little bit in home locally. I do hatha yoga. I got certified in hatha yoga when I came down here 2002. And there was one of the reasons why I wanted to come here was to go to a specific school, because back then there were very few yoga schools. Now there are a dime a dozen also, right? Yeah, hello, that's out on Miami Beach. And
I like this shirt that says sulforaphane.
sulforaphane. That's right. That's right. Absolutely. And then also at 57, when I went back to, thank you for massage therapy, I also not only got my license in massage therapy, but I got certification for geriatric massage. So I work with people for Alzheimer's, Parkinson's in massage therapy. That's not done on a table. That's done on a reclining chair or somebody's like a home hospital bed. And I also do palliative care massage, where literally the family brings me in the process of transitioning to the other side. So it's quite a unique experience. And but in the midst of this kind of like, oh boy, I've lost everything, right? And I've been a member of Feel Fabulous Over 40, Chef AJ's group now for, that's that picture, man. I get more comments about that shot.
Well, you're fabulous over 40. What can I tell you?
Me too. So, I mean, there I was like, one Friday night, I'm sending like an email to a bankruptcy attorney. Okay, seriously. That Sunday, this was near Thanksgiving. That's the thing of it. It's like, oh my God, the timing. That Sunday morning, I get an email from Tobias of Better Life Summits. And he's one of the producers of Chef AJ's Summits and also Feel Fabulous Over 40. And he writes me and says, we think you'd be a fit to like provide us for some video work for the group. And I'm just like, what? That came out of nowhere. And I just thought, I would love the gig, and I'm still doing it. And I'm absolutely adoring it. We just had a production meeting last week where I could toss it around ideas back and forth because we've got this to contend with, right? This doesn't mean I don't work out, folks. This just means I can't hold weights in this hand anymore. I can't do it like that. So I'm figuring out all kinds of crap to get this. My biggest thing is to not become osteoporotic because of this, right? And one of the hand surgeons I went to, she is considered the top one in Miami Beach, and she said to me, you will become osteoporotic if you don't do your workout. I told her, I said, so I'm going to show you a couple of ideas of exercises. And she's looking now. Remember, she treats NFL and the NBA players.
Yeah, so
Okay.
they get injured.
All the time.
All
And
the
they
time, yeah.
and the beauty that I was told by all three hand surgeons is I don't need surgery. And within 3 weeks, this bone is starting to heal.
Mm.
All right. Now, doesn't mean that it might not be a full healing, whatever. But the point being is, they said to me, you keep going at it, you're going to be able to return to massage therapy and you're going to be able to return to weightlifting. It's just going to take time, patience, and the proper PT afterwards, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, I'm still working. I'm not doing massage therapy, but I am figuring out how to work out with this thing.
Right. I mean, you did a chair yoga with us.
That's right.
You're going to come back and do other office chair yoga in the future. And you showed how you don't have to do a downward dog to do yoga. You can still do lots of things.
Yeah. Yeah. And Tobias, at first I thought, oh, I'm going to lose that gig, right? Because, aesthetically, who wants this thing in a video on your platform forever? It was part of a private membership. And Tobias writes me back and goes, no, we think it's badass. We want you on.
Exactly.
Keep going.
Because that's life.
Right.
Life isn't perfect there all the time. Life is, you break a bone or something, it happens. Does that mean you're supposed to stop?
Right.
No.
Exactly. That's how I see it.
Farida wanted to know what brand of supplementation were you talking about?
If you don't mind me saying it, then I do use it's a practitioner-based supplementation. So be careful, Farida. You would probably better go to their website. It's Premier Research Labs. And they're out of Austin, Texas, because unfortunately, some people have basically pirated the work, and they've created like fake labels and stuff, and
Oh,
they're selling this stuff on Amazon. And what happened to me, Amy, is I found out about Prima Research Labs, went to Amazon to purchase. I made a purchase, and then I made a purchase directly from them. And I looked at the ingredients, and there was one ingredient off, and I knew I had the fake one from Amazon. So be
mm,
careful for it. It's
yeah.
Premier
Sometimes,
Research
yeah,
Labs. The other one I'm going to recommend, though, is also, and this is from Jeff Palmer, and he has the Clean Machine, and he has an excellent line of supplementation that even Dr. Frank Sabatino suggests some of the supplements there as well.
yeah,
All plant-based, excellent, excellent
yeah.
quality.
And Dr. Furman has some supplements that
Right.
he sells too, and
Yeah.
I feel confident that
Yeah.
he but that I don't you could probably get them on Amazon, but then again, are they the real thing, or should you
Yeah,
just go
this is the
through?
kind of
Yeah,
stuff, because it's really plant-based and really pristinely sourced, right? And tested, that I would go to the real deal. I would go to the
yeah.
original person, the original company. I wouldn't play games with that stuff,
Yeah, I agree.
you know?
So, your website,
Yes, is boomerandbeyondwellness.com. There it is,
and we'll put links for it
boomerandbeyondwellness.com. Thank you.
in
And I'm
the
also on
show notes.
Facebook.
Mhm.
That
Right.
I know I'm not
Sure.
into, like, it's enough just handling Facebook to me with social media. Oh my God. And
Yeah.
also to know that if people are interested in the Feel Fabulous Over 40 program, okay, Chef AJ, for at least for right now, they're offering 2-week trial period for $1. And
Wow,
yeah,
that's a
and what
good deal.
happens, yeah, and you get exposed to the entire platform, and that includes my workout videos on there, my yoga videos. They have another yoga teacher with videos there. We have chair yoga. We show ways of how to do exercise with no weights or any kind of accessories.
Well, that's
Um,
wonderful. I'm
oh,
glad that
it's
you
a
shared
great
that with us.
platform, and that's feelfabulousover40.com.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
wonderful. Well, so many people showed up today to watch you,
thank you.
and you have a lot of fans, and you're so inspirational. I mean, we all could have an excuse for not eating the right way and not exercising and not being proactive and taking care of ourselves, whether it's something from our childhood or health conditions or life conditions. And you've been going through it all since you were very young. You've gone through the gauntlet of so many different things, but yet you still continue to have a positive outlook, and you're proactive, and you don't just take something that somebody says to be what you're supposed to do. You research and you look into
Right.
things, and you found a way to get to the other side of a lot of these different health issues that you went through. And it was just so inspiring, and I hope that people consider taking on a plant-based lifestyle if they haven't already, or if they have, to take it up another notch, guys, because you can say you're plant-based, but your shopping cart and your kitchen has to
Mm.
show it, and that's really when you're going to get these results, don't you think, Angela?
Oh, absolutely. Because the cleaner the food, the more you get from that food, right? I
Right.
mean, there's just so much with the phytonutrients and the vitamins and the minerals, and that's the thing for people with osteoporosis, is to really hammer home the importance of the greens and of the minerals. This is what works for the bone. The bone loves that, I mean, some of my clients, they can't handle eating salads because of GI issues. We got
Mm,
them doing green smoothies.
yes. Yep, so
Yeah,
there's a way to do it,
yeah,
and I'm so glad that you're out there helping people, and that you, are on with Chef AJ, because she's doing a lot of really great work,
yeah.
and you're having her as a vehicle to spread the word for your work as well. I wanted to ask everybody that is watching or listening, tell us what you're going to remember. What's your takeaway?
Mm.
And also, I'm gonna be talking to you about a special announcement. I did wanna thank Jess Task Force, because she did that countdown, and she did the intro for you as well. And
Thank
I
you.
wanted to tell you that coming up next, we're gonna have returning Timmery Hagenberger.
Oh, I
She's an
love her.
RDN. She's known as
Mm.
the nutrition professor, and she's gonna be doing a culinary demo of plant-based, it's not tuna, it's curry zuna. Ooh. And she's going to be doing a yummy mayo, and she's going to be doing a chocolate sauce. And so please come back and join us on Wednesday, June 1st at 3 p.m. Eastern, Noon Pacific on Be Green with Amy Live. And we're going to have a great time learning about her recipes. And she's always got a lot of smart things to talk to us about. And I wanted to thank, and Charles said, take no names. If you want to be healthy, do it. That's right, Charles. You got it. Well, and now for all of you, because I used to do this when I was a kid, because I always loved getting hugs. And that's why I married Rick, because he's a big hugger. And so what I want you all to do is what my Uncle Lou used to tell me on the phone. He used to say, take your right hand and grab your left shoulder, and take your left hand and grab your right shoulder. Now squeeze. And that's a hug from me to you, because we all need hugs.
Yeah.
And all of you, if you want to join me with Angela, and in the comments, you can type in my tagline, which is be strong, be well, and be green. Are you ready, Angela?
I am.
Okay. Well, until I see you guys again, remember, be strong. Let me see that muscle. Ooh, yeah. Oh, I'll put up 2. Be well and be green.
Green!
Bye, everyone.
Now you can listen to Be Green with Amy expert interviews wherever you go. Listen while walking, meal prepping, or traveling. Find Be Green with Amy on Apple, Google, Alexa, Amazon, or virtually anywhere you find podcasts. Be strong, be well, and be green with Be Green